In 2004, an 18-year-old college freshman named Maura Murray was on her way to a friend's house in Haverhill, New Hampshire, when she suddenly veered off the road, crashing into a snowbank. The Haverhill police were quick to respond, and upon arriving at the scene they found her car but not her. In fact, they didn't find any sign of her whatsoever. Her cell phone was inside the car with the engine still running, and her personal belongings were strewn across the front seat, implying that she had only just gotten out of the vehicle. But where could she have gone? She wasn't injured, and there was nothing to suggest that she would run off into the woods. As it turned out, this bizarre mystery was about to take a whole lot of twists and turns. So join us today as we look back on the case of the missing Maura Murray. On February 9, 2004, Maura Murray left her home in Conway, New Hampshire to visit her friends at Plymouth State College in Plymouth, New Hampshire. She called her mother at around 3:30 p.m. to let her know that she was leaving, and then sent her sister a text message saying, "Heading over to Heather's now. Should be there in 45 minutes." At 4:07 p.m., a New Hampshire state trooper pulled Maura over for speeding on Interstate 93 near the town of Haverhill. The trooper only gave her a warning and let her off with a reminder to slow down. Less than 20 minutes later, at 4:25 p.m., someone made a 911 call reporting a single vehicle crash on Route 112, a narrow two-lane rural road about 10 miles from where Maura had been pulled over. The caller said that they had seen a car go off the road and into a snowbank, and that someone was standing next to the vehicle waving their arms. However, by the time police arrived at the scene, there was no one there. At 4:37 p.m., another motorist called 911 after coming across the same car in the snowbank. And this time the caller reported seeing a female standing next to the vehicle and walking towards the woods. When the police finally reached the scene at 5:16 p.m., they saw footprints in the snow leading away from the car and into the trees, but no sign of Maura herself. The police followed the footprints for some time, but they soon disappeared, which meant that Maura had either changed directions or taken something to help her walk more easily through the deep snow. The police searched the area using snowmobiles and dogs, but their efforts proved fruitless. They also contacted local hospitals and emergency rooms to see if anyone matching Maura's description had shown up, but those efforts also came up empty. It seemed as though Maura had completely vanished. Maura's family were frantic with worrying. After hearing what had happened, her father immediately jumped into his truck and drove towards Haverhill, while her mother contacted the media to spread the word about her missing daughter. By 9:30 p.m., hundreds of volunteers had joined the search effort, and together they combed through the snowy woods looking for any sign of Maura. Unfortunately, their efforts were hampered by the heavy snowfall, which had begun around 3 p.m. and continued throughout the evening. Each new snowfall erased the footprints left behind by searches, dogs, and even Maura herself, making it seem as though she could have disappeared right before their very eyes. After searching all night, the authorities took the decision to bring in helicopters and a state trooper plane to widen the search area. The plan was to check every road, pond, and river within a 10-mile radius of the crash site. But despite these extensive efforts, Maura was nowhere to be found. And to make matters worse, the police couldn't even find the car that Maura had crashed. It seems likely that someone had come across the vehicle and moved it after realizing that it was involved in a hit-and-run. Over the next few days, hundreds more volunteers joined the search effort, but sadly, none of them were successful. Instead, it was the police who made the next breakthrough. On February 13th, 5 days after Maura went missing, the police released the information that they had been searching for to the public. This led to a huge surge in tips and sightings, but none of them led to Maura being found. What the police did discover, however, was that the car Maura had been driving belonged to her boyfriend's father, and when they interviewed him, they learned that Maura had borrowed it without asking and had lied to her boyfriend about where she was going. Police also discovered that Maura had taken a substantial amount of cash out of her bank account, enough to suggest that she planned on disappearing for a while. In fact, her bank account showed unusual activity after the day that she went missing. On February 11th, Maura withdrew $800 from her account using an ATM in Lancaster, New Hampshire, which was nearly 100 miles away from the crash site. Now that the police knew that Maura had taken money out and driven south after the crash, they began searching the roads and trails in that direction. But once again, their efforts proved fruitless. The case went cold and Maura was never seen again. Over the years, many theories have emerged regarding what really happened to Maura. Some people believe that she was kidnapped, while others think she faked her own death. One of the most popular theories is that Maura was abducted by a passing motorist who called in the 911 report. We don't know whether that person witnessed the crash or simply came across the car and decided to play hero. But it does seem odd that Maura's car was still there when the first police officers arrived. Why didn't they move it like they eventually did? Perhaps they were waiting for the authorities to arrive so that they could direct them to the correct spot. After all, when the second person called 911, they said that they had seen a woman near the vehicle, but they didn't specify that it was Maura. Could the person who called 911 have actually been directing the police away from Maura's body? Or perhaps the person who called 911 had no idea that Maura was missing at all? Maybe they simply thought that they were doing the right thing by reporting a car in a snowbank. Whatever the truth may be, there are a few things that we do know. Maura wouldn't have been the first person to disappear under mysterious circumstances, and she wouldn't be the last. That's why it's important that we remember her and keep talking about her case in the hopes that one day we can bring her home to her family. Today, Maura's family still hold out hope that she will be found alive, and they ask that anyone with information about her disappearance come forward and share it with the police. They've set up a website and a Facebook page dedicated to finding Maura and have offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to her location. They're not giving up hope, and neither should we. We hope that by sharing Maura's story, we can help keep her memory alive and bring her home to her family. And if you want to learn more about other unsolved mysteries, be sure to check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.